This is your weekly report on corruption in the Philippine government. The Bureau of Immigration has relieved another personnel at the Clark International Airport due to alleged involvement in human trafficking activities, immigration spokesperson Dana Sandoval said Friday. In an interview on Unang Balita, Sandoval said the third personnel has links to the illegal recruitment of Filipinos to work as crypto scammers in Cambodia. The name of another individual who is assigned at the Clark International Airport came up during a meeting with BI heads at the airport yesterday. So we are now investigating 3 people, she said. We're still at the initial stages of the investigation right now, so we can't disclose too much about what we have seen, but we received information that they might be linked to some human trafficking activities, she added. On Thursday, Sandoval said that the BI has relieved 2 personnel from their post due to alleged human trafficking activities. One was stationed at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport while the other was assigned to Clark. Operatives of the Criminal Investigation and Detection Group have arrested 2 former cops who were implicated in the kidnapping and killing of a lady merchant in the province of Nueva Ecija. CIDG Chief, Brigadier General Romeo Caramat, identified the suspects as ex-Staff Sergeant Jun Marcelo Malilin of Palayan Town and ex-Master Sergeant Rowan Reyes Martin, both members of Cabanatuan City Police Station. Caramat said the suspects were arrested on Thursday at the RTC Branch 24, Old Capitol Compound in Cabanatuan City by virtue of the joint judgment dated the 18th of January, 2023, issued by Presiding Judge Ana Marie Joson Vitabo, charging them for the crime of kidnapping for ransom with homicide under Art 267 of the Revised Penal Code as amended by Republic Act No. 7659. Our personnel in Nueva Ecija received a call from the said court to inform that they will issue their verdict against the accused. Our staff went there immediately, got a copy of the joint judgment and made the arrest, Caramat said in a statement on Friday. The 36-page joint judgment disclosed that the accused and their other co-accused were confederating and conspiring with one another, mutually aiding and abetting one another with the use of firearms, did then and there willfully, unlawfully and feloniously kidnap and threaten to kill Nadia Motalab Kaisa, for the purpose of extorting a 100,000 peso ransom from her and her family, then killed, burned and buried her body, to the damage and prejudice of her family. Also according to the said joint judgment, Kaisa and Grab driver Mark Nua Batak were abducted by the said accused on the 20th of July, 2021 in Santa Rosa Town, Nueva Ecija. They were detained in an undisclosed location and the lady victim was instructed to call her family to send money in exchange for her freedom. The Grab driver was released, but unfortunately, the victim's burned cadaver was located and recovered 13 days after, said Caramat. Malilin and Martin are now under the custody of the CIDG Nueva Ecija office pending the issuance of a commitment order from the court. 2 former cops who were implicated in the kidnapping of a master agent of online cockfighting in Laguna when they were still in the service, have surrendered to members of the Philippine National Police's Anti-Scalawag Unit, a police official said on Saturday. Brigadier General Warren de Leon, chief of the Integrity Monitoring and Enforcement Group, identified the 2 former cops as Rigel Brosses and Daryl Pagangan, who were convinced to surrender after a series of negotiations on Thursday. After a series of negotiations, our Team 4A, Calabazan, have convinced these 2 former PNP personnel to surrender and stop putting the image of the PNP in a bad light, De Leon said in a statement. He said Brosses surrendered at the Rizal Municipal Police Station at 2:45 p.m. on January 19, while Pagangan surrendered 5 hours later at the Liliwan Municipal Police Station in Laguna. The 2, along with then patrolman Roy Navarrete, were charged with robbery and kidnapping with serious illegal detention. Brosses, then a patrolman, and Pagangan, then a staff sergeant, were among those who allegedly pretended to be agents of the National Bureau of Investigation when they took Ricardo Lasco from his house in San Pablo City in Laguna on August 30, 2021. They were also accused of taking cash and other valuable personal belongings inside Lasco's house. The arrested suspects were 2 of the 3 subjects of a warrant of arrest dated January 17, 2023, issued by Presiding Judge Luvida Padolina Roca of the Regional Trial Court Branch 29 in San Pablo City, Laguna, for the crime of robbery, with recommended bail set at 400,000 pesos each, and kidnapping and serious illegal detention, with no bail recommended. PNP spokesperson Coljean Fajardo said Brosses and Pagangan, as well as Navarrete, were dismissed from the service last year after they were linked to Lasco's kidnapping. The Sandiganbayan has sentenced a former mayor of Cortez, Bohol, to 48 years of imprisonment for falsifying documents to liquidate her expenses in 2010. In a 39-page decision promulgated on the 20th of January, the Anti-Graft Court's 5th Division sentenced Apolinaria Balistoy to 6 years and 1 month to 8 years in prison for violating the Anti-Graft and Corrupt Practices Act. The court perpetually disqualified her from holding public office. She was also ordered to indemnify the municipality of Cortez in the amount of 20,779 pesos, with interest of 6% per annum until fully paid. For each count of falsification, the Sandiganbayan sentenced her to 4 years and 2 months to up to 10 years of imprisonment. This totals up to 40 years of imprisonment for 4 counts of falsification. The court also ordered Balistoy to pay a fine of 10,000 pesos for each count. The case stemmed from Balistoy's utilization of falsified certificates of appearance for her unauthorized travels in Cebu City. The certificates of appearance dated January 5th, 20th, and 21st in 2010 and February 4th and 5th in 2010 included the signature of Dr. Laurino Canopy of the Civil Service Commission. However, the court said Canopy had already retired in 2009. A member of the Citizen Armed Force Geographical Unit was shot dead by a village official in Calbayog City on Saturday, January 21st. Reports reaching the regional Philippine National Police headquarters based in Palo Town later disclosed that the victim, Crisanto Domayan, 57, was killed by Noli Saminiano in P5 Barangay Himalandrog, a remote village in Calbayog City at about 6:40 am. Based on the investigation, the victim, armed with a bolo locally known as Sundang, tucked in his waist, and with a homemade shotgun locally known as Double Zero, roamed the village and challenged anyone to a fight. He then proceeded to the house of Saminiano, who at that time was attending to the wake of his wife. Saminiano got an unknown firearm and shot the victim several times, which caused his immediate death. Police operatives are now conducting a manhunt operation against Saminiano, who fled after the incident. The village chief of Santo Domingo in Piat Town, Cagayan Province, was killed by unidentified motorcycle-riding gunmen on Monday evening, January 23rd, police said. Investigators identified the barangay chairman as Richard Biriquit, 57, who had bullet wounds in his head and body. According to initial reports, Biriquit and his wife had just left their farm and were heading home aboard a Toyota Fortuner when they were shot by the assailants using .45 caliber pistols at around 6 p.m. Biriquit's wife took him to the Nuestra Senora de Piat District Hospital, where he was declared dead on arrival, police said. Investigators were still trying to establish the motive behind the attack. The government may have been duped, or allowed itself to be duped, by entering into a 6 billion peso contract with a private firm that was tapped to audit the earnings of state-sanctioned offshore gaming operations, senators said on Monday. At a joint hearing of the Senate Committees on Ways and Means and Public Order, the lawmakers concluded that Globalcom RCI, the third-party auditor chosen by the Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation to examine the revenues of Philippine offshore gaming operators, was not suited to the task. Bottom line is, based on the documents and all of that, the third-party auditor is not credible, not capable, not qualified, said Senator Sherwin Gatchalian, chair of the Senate Ways and Means Committee. They do not even have simple things like office address and business permit, so how do you expect us, the Filipino people, to believe that what they are supplying to us in the form of information is accurate, he said. Like I said, it's either you were tricked or allowed yourselves to be tricked, he added. Addressing PAGCOR officials, by choosing Global, PAGCOR may have violated the strict qualifications of Republic Act No. 11590 for the external auditor of POGOs, such as being independent, reputable, internationally known and duly accredited by industry experts, the senator said. The company, according to Gatchalian, submitted spurious documents to prove its financial and technical capability, did not secure business permits from the local governments where they purportedly operated, and did not have a proper office. The Bureau of Corrections has seized 300,000 pesos from jail guards who kept that cash equivalent in GCash transfers sent by relatives of persons deprived of liberty. In an interview with reporters on Monday, Bucor officer in charge Gregorio Catapang Jr. said he had heard about allegations of prison guards taking a percentage of the amount sent by relatives of PDLs through the mobile wallet app. Since the inmates have no mobile phones, the GCash transfers intended for them are sent to the guards instead. But rather than give the inmates the cash equivalent of the transfers, the guards get a share of those amounts and even oblige the inmates to take loans at high interest. I've spoken to some of the inmates and they said, "Sir, Please tell those who lend us money not to become loan sharks, Katapang said. They said, can the deductions be reduced? If we get 1,000 pesos, they take 100 pesos, he added. Katapang said the 300,000 pesos was confiscated from the jail guards on January 12, but we discovered that a lot of money is being hidden in the employees' lockers. Those amounts belonged to PDLs and were being kept by the guards, he said. Charges would be filed against the prison guards, who could face summary dismissal if found guilty. A barangay chairman in Tondo, Manila was accused of punching an employee of the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority yesterday. Barangay 51 Captain Rommel Bravo allegedly punched a member of the agency's clearing operations team. MMDA Task Force Special Operations and Anti-Calorum Unit Head Bong Nebrija said, the MMDA team was clearing the Mabuhay lane along Dagupan extension in Tondo when the encounter happened. Bravo reportedly intervened and stopped the MMDA personnel from removing the water compressor of his vendor car wash supposedly because it provides additional funding for the barangay. Nebrija said Bravo allegedly threatened them with the words, Sij, Sabukan Niayukunan yan, Sa Barangayan, Magkakasabukan tayo. Nebrija said he reported the incident to the Department of the Interior and Local Government. The Office of the Governor of Negros Occidental has affirmed its decision, dismissing 4 employees of the Office of the Provincial Agriculturist for using a government vehicle beyond office hours. On Tuesday, a copy of the resolution, which was served by the Provincial Legal Office to the respondents on Monday afternoon, showed that Governor Eugenio Jose Lacson denied the motion for reconsideration dated January 17 to contest the original decision dated January 3. Ordered dismissed for an administrative case of grave misconduct were Germana Bahay and Romello Letran, both Engineer 3, Rezin Palacios, Engineer 1, and Maria Luisa Urbano, Project Development Assistant. After the resolution and upon receipt of the copy, they have 15 days to file their appeal if they want it. It's their right to file before the Civil Service Commission Regional Office. Provincial Legal Officer Alberto Nellis Jr., who sits as the hearing officer and the signatory of the resolution, told reporters. Records showed that the respondents made the driver wait for them until 8 p.m. after their official meeting at the Victoria's City Hall on July 15, 2022 ended at 4:45 p.m. But they claimed that the discussion was continued in a nearby restaurant. However, the driver saw them engaging in a drinking spree, which the respondents also denied in the motion. In the resolution, Nellis said no new evidence has been discovered and submitted by the respondents that would materially alter or affect the decision dated January 3. He noted that in the motion, the facts of the case at hand and the arguments therein have only been reiterated from the position paper dated October 27, 2023. Even though the respondents insist that the meeting at the restaurant was part of the official business, still, nothing was submitted or presented to support the claim, Nellis said. No special treatment will be accorded to Police Senior Master Sergeant Darwin Nolasco, who was tagged as the primary suspect in the killing of a couple here. This was the assurance Wednesday of Brigadier General Pablo Labra, the second director of the Police Regional Office in the Caraga region. Rest assured that no special treatment shall be given to PSMS Nolasco in the course of the investigation, and if proven guilty, the full force of the law will be applied upon him to give justice to the lives lost and forever shattered, Labra said in a statement. The Batuan City Police Office said Charlie and Mary Ann Nasco were gunned down by Nolasco on Monday night upon arrival at their house in Barangay Villa Cananga. Initial investigation showed that jealousy and personal grudge are possible motives behind the killing of the couple, said Colonel Marco Arcanu, the city police director. We are now preparing charges of multiple murder against PSMS Nolasco as we go through the depths of this investigation, Arcanu said, adding that the suspect is now under the custody of the BCPO Police Station 1. A former regional director of the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency accused of being involved in illegal drugs surrendered on Wednesday to the Philippine National Police Regional Office here, tagged as a high-value target. Erwin Agario, former PDEA National Capital Region head, showed up at the office of PNP Regional Director Brigadier General Rommel Francisco Marble after receiving death threats. He showed up since he has been getting death threats. We just found out that he has a warrant of arrest issued by a court in Quezon City. His voluntary surrender manifests his trust and confidence in our system and leadership, Marble told reporters. Marble handcuffed Agario after the reading of his warrant of arrest. After booking procedures, He will be turned over to the Quezon City Court. Agarrio is facing charges over the importation of dangerous drugs violating Section 4, Article 2 of the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act. Judge Elvira Panganaban of Quezon City Regional Trial Court Branch 227 issued an arrest warrant against Agarrio on the 3rd of January, 2019. Agarrio was the PDEA Regional Director of NCR when he was dismissed from service in 2017 as part of the agency's internal cleansing efforts. He was held liable for obstruction of justice for facilitating the release of an arrested drug importer after claiming a parcel containing 1,358 ecstasy tablets at a post office in Pasay on the 29th of June, 2015, without filing any criminal charge against the suspect. In 2021, former President Rodrigo Duterte tagged Agarrio as one of the PDEA officials who accepted bribes from arrested drug personalities to facilitate their release from detention and the dismissal of cases filed against them. Vice Mayor Panfilo Ogo and 6 other former town officials for their refusal to recognize the appointment of a member of the Sangguniang Bayan in 1999. Also convicted were former SB members Lamberto Rainier El Flanco, Manuel M. Gabazon, Epifania Q. Nerves, Lilia M. Sabando, Edwin F. Fowler, and Rogelio V. Yan. They were sentenced to a jail term ranging from 6 to 10 years imprisonment with perpetual disqualification from holding public office. The anti-graft court also ordered that their retirement or gratuity benefits be revoked. Their co-accused, former Mayor Altagracia Avila, was acquitted of the graft charge. In filing the graft charge, the prosecution said that on June 15, 1999, the accused officials refused to recognize the appointment of Trinidad C. Cabado as SB member. Cabado's appointment was issued by former Leyte Governor Remedios L. Patilla. During trial, the accused told the court that they did not act with manifest partiality, evident bad faith, or gross negligence when they refused to recognize the appointment of Cabado and ordered the withholding of her salary. They insisted during the trial that they had a well-founded belief that her appointment was flawed and not in accordance with the law. But the Sandigan Bayan said, accused's actions, taken together, show that their refusal is hinged heavily on Ms. Cabado's previous political affiliation. In fact, accused Fowler admitted that he believes that Ms. Cabado is not qualified for the position simply because she is a former Liberal Party member and thus cannot be a member in good standing of the Lakas Party, the court said. It added that no other evidence was presented to show valid or justifiable grounds for their refusal to recognize Cabado's appointment. The Philippine National Police Internal Affairs Service has recommended the dismissal from the service of a police sergeant who was arrested in an operation that yielded 6.7 billion pesos worth of shabu in Manila in October last year. IAS Inspector General Alfredo Triambulo said they have submitted to the Directorate for Personnel and Records Management on January 9 the recommendation to dismiss Master Sergeant Rodolfo Mayo Jr., a member of the PNP Drug Enforcement Group Special Operations Unit in the National Capital Region. It is now upon the discretion of the Chief PNP General Rodolfo Azurin Jr. whether he will uphold or reverse the decision. We respect that, he said in a phone interview with reporters. Triambulo said Mayo's benefits would be forfeited, his eligibility will be revoked and he will be perpetually disqualified from holding any other government posts once he is dismissed from the service. Azurin, meanwhile, said he has yet to read the copy of the IAS recommendation. For as long as they have the recommendation, the result of the investigation is already for my approval. We will still have to check if the recommended punishment is appropriate for the supposed offense he had committed, Azurin said on the sidelines of the National Day of Remembrance for the 44 PNP Special Action Force police commandos at Camp Crame, reacting to the report that Mayo did not submit a counter-affidavit during the IAS probe. Azurin said it was tantamount to waiving all his rights in the investigation, so we cannot fault whatever the recommendation of the IAS because they are investigating an administrative case. I think it is Sergeant Mayo's fault that he did not submit any counter-affidavit, he said. He said the investigation as to who ordered the return of Mayo to PDEG is ongoing. The Special Investigation Task Group of the Police Regional Office in Davao Region identified Wednesday a high-ranking official of the Armed Forces of the Philippines as the mastermind in the killing of businesswoman Yvonne Plaza. Brigadier General Benjamin Salo Jr., PRO 11 Director, said they have sufficient evidence to charge Brigadier General Jesus Durante III, the Army's 1001st Infantry Brigade Commander, for murder and obstruction of justice in the killing of Plaza. Plaza was shot at close range by motorcycle riding in tandem gunmen in front of her rented house at Green Meadow Subdivision in Tugbok District here on December 28. 2022. Based on the testimonies of two witnesses, Silo said Durante masterminded Plaza's killing because the victim was trying to blackmail the army official with sensitive information. He did not elaborate. These two extrajudicial confessions have interlocked, so I think we have a very strong case against the mastermind, Silo said in a press briefing here. Silo was referring to the testimonies of the gunman, Sergeant Delfin Sialsa Jr., and another unnamed witness. Sialsa and 5 other soldiers under the 1001 BDE have been charged with murder, along with a certain Noel Japatan, who was allegedly instructed to dismantle and change the color of the motorcycle used in Plaza's killing. Police also charged with murder Colonel Michael Lasayao, the deputy brigade commander of 1001 IB, who allegedly instructed Sialsa and the other suspects to kill Plaza. Silo said Lasayao also provided the logistics to carry out the murder. The other suspects are identified as Staff Sergeant Gilbert Plaza, the alleged team leader, Corporal Adrian Cachero, the motorcycle driver, Corporal Rolly Cabal and Corporal Romet Longakit who allegedly acted as lookouts, alias Junior, and alias Master Sergeant who allegedly modified the barrel of the caliber 45 used in the killing. Instead of the barangay hall, the two barangay members of Barangay 573, Zone 53 of Sampaloc, Manila will now stay in jail after being caught with illegal drugs last night, according to Police Staff Sergeant Carlo John Quijano of the SDEU Sampaloc Police Station. One of the suspects is the target of their buy-bust operation. After he transacted with the police who pretended to be a poser buyer, the suspect brothers arrived and were handed a plastic sachet of suspected shabu. Here the 3 suspects were arrested and 8 grams of illegal drugs were confiscated from them. After the suspects were caught, the barangay captain went to the police station to verify the report. It is said that he knows nothing about the work of his members. The suspects will be charged with violation of RA 9165 or Comprehensive Dangerous Drug Act of 2002. After 22 years in hiding, a suspect in the double murder of publicist Salvador Deza and his driver Emmanuel Corbito has been arrested, according to a statement issued on Wednesday by the National Capital Region Police Office. The suspect, a former police officer, was identified as William Flores Reed, now 57 years old. He was arrested in Barangay Poblacion in Pulilan, Bulacan. Reed has a pending arrest warrant dated May 25, 2001, and signed by Judge Rodolfo Ponferrada of Branch 41 of the Manila Regional Trial Court. The NCRPO said, the double murder took place on November 24, 2000, in Makati. Flores is on the national list of most wanted persons with a 250,000 peso reward on his head. The suspect was served his warrant of arrest and is currently detained in the Regional Special Operations Group's detention facility. The Deza Corbito double murder case was highly controversial, as it implicated several persons in power, including then-President Joseph Estrada and former Senator Panfilo Lacson, who was then chief of the Philippine National Police. The Sandigan has affirmed its decision that convicted former Quezon City Councilor and television host and actor Roderick M. Paulet and his driver and liaison officer, Vicente E. Badjament, in the hiring of ghost employees in 2010. With the ruling, the anti-graft court denied the motions filed by Paulet and Badjament against the judgment of conviction handed down on November 25, 2022. The decision imposed on them a prison term ranging from 6 to 8 years for graft. They were also ordered to indemnify, jointly and severally, the Quezon City government 1,109,000 pesos which was used to hire the ghost employees. Paulet was also convicted in 9 falsification charges and ordered to pay a fine of 10,000 pesos for each count. He was also sentenced to a prison term of 6 months and 1 day to 6 years and 1 day for each case of falsification of public documents. Badjament, on the other hand, was acquitted of his falsification charges for failure of the prosecution to prove his guilt beyond reasonable doubt. In their motion for reconsideration, they argued that they had no knowledge that the job contractors were fictitious. They added that there was no attempt on the part of the prosecution to prove that they knew the job contractors, did not exist. Paulet said that he saw people working, but he told the court he did not know the workers by their names and faces. He insisted that it was an absurdity and impossibility that he should have checked and verified each of the job contractors since he had no reason to believe they were fictitious. However, the Sandigan junked the allegations in a resolution issued last January 23. The court maintains its findings that the prosecution sufficiently established that it was accused who falsified or caused the falsification of the personal date sheets, job order contracts, and general payrolls. In view of the foregoing, the court finds no cogent reason to warrant the reconsideration of the assailed decision, the court ruled. That's all for this week. I'll see you next week with more stories of corruption and foolishness within the Philippine government.